Hey crafty friends, Christina here with you from SunnyDay Memories. So I'm doing another video continuing on with our concept theme for the Crafty Copycat Creations for the month of July for using tags in different ways. So I created a way to go ahead and send school photos to family and friends that you might do using the little tags as a spot where you can go ahead and put the photos, so you could go ahead and create as many as you needed and then tuck them in a little pocket of a card that you can then go ahead and send. So let me show you how to do this. So I am using our new Learn and Grow stamp set, which is perfect if you have kids or grandkids in school or you work at a school. Just got some great images in here, some great sentiments. So what I've done to kind of keep down the bulk a little bit, since we are having the tags in here and a pocket, and I didn't want it to be too bulky to mail, is I only did like the front of a card base. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, a basic white. So it's not a full open up card, which if you want to do a full card, you could absolutely do it. So you would go ahead and do 8 1/2 long by this 5 1/2, and then you'd score it at 4 1/4. And so that is the base of the card. And so I've actually gone ahead and I've stamped on the back side of that just a note, which is from the stamp set here. So then I can go ahead and write a note, and like you could put the kids' ages or their grades on there, just so that way the recipient knows that information. All right, so before I go ahead and stamp this on here, I wanted to share a little tip with you in case it's helpful. So if you have like a wiggly image, like a sentiment image, this isn't that wiggly because it's not that long of one. But if you ever struggle with getting it straight on your block in order to have a nice straight stamped image, if you go ahead and set it down on your work surface, so that the stamped image is down on your surface and the part that you want to put on your block is facing up, when you go ahead and take the block down to it and bring it up, then it's going to go ahead and be straight. So that's just a quick, simple fix that you can go ahead and do instead of trying to put it on and adjust it to make sure that it is straight. And I'm going ahead and I'm inking this up in the Night of Navy, and then I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it towards the top of the card base. Okay, so then I went ahead and flipped it over, so that way that sentiment, like I said, is stamped on the back. And so we're going to go ahead and work on the front then. So first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do some layering. So I have 3 pieces that are on here. I am using the Cherry Cobbler cardstock, which measures 3 by 5 1/2 tall. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to emboss it in our new Swirls of Magic embossing folder. This is actually in our Halloween collection, but I think it is so versatile. I think it's great here with the school theme. I think it would be great for Christmas. It would be great for birthdays. Just so much that you can do with it. So don't think of it just in terms of the theme with the collection that it's in. Okay, so I've gone ahead and embossed this off screen. So you've got this fun swirls and stars in there. So that is that Cherry Cobbler cardstock. I also have a piece of our new Golden Glow in color, and this is the in color gingham paper, and it measures 1 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall, and that's going to go flush up to the right edge of the card. So these two are going to butt up against each other. And then I wanted to bring in the Night of Navy. I was trying to kind of stick with primary colors here. You could go ahead, if you're doing this for your kids, if they go to the same school, you could use the school colors, which would be really fun. So this is Night of Navy. It's a 1/4 inch wide by 5 1/2 tall. And I'm going to have this just go right over that seam between those papers. And one thing I want to note is I would recommend when you're using an embossing folder that a liquid glue is going to be much better for kind of getting in those nooks and crannies to really make good contact when you go ahead and glue it down than a tape runner will be. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create the pocket and the focal point here of our card. So I started with a piece of Night of Navy. This measures 3 1/4 wide by 4 inches tall. And then I have a piece of basic white that's going to go on that. It measures 3 inches by 3 3/4 tall. And we're going to go ahead and do some stamping and some paper piecing on it to go ahead and create that focal point. So first we're going to go ahead and start with the sentiment with the Night of Navy ink. We're going to put Simply the Best in the lower right hand corner. Go ahead and ink that up and then stamp it down at the bottom, just like that. And then what I've done is I've gone ahead and stamped a scrap piece of the Golden Glow, and I stamped the set of notebooks here. And then there's a little set of stars here in the set, and then I went ahead and I stamped that right on top of it in that center point. And because we are paper piecing, sorry, I didn't worry too much about overlapping on this one little notebook because we will be adding another notebook on that. So if you don't get it stamped just quite right, So then I did a second one, so then I can go ahead and cut this other one out in the cherry cobbler. So I will go ahead and cut these two out. I did cut them out all the way to the edge. I did not leave any border on this because I wanted it to be really clean and I didn't want to have the excess on there. All right, so in addition to fussy cutting out the notebooks, I also stamped in the Night of Navy as well on the Golden Glow, the ruler, and then fussy cut it. So I did want to mention that I know not everyone likes to fussy cut, and these aren't too bad because it's all straight lines. It's not like anything curvy, but you could absolutely just go ahead and stamp directly onto your focal point piece here, this basic white, and then color it in with markers or colored pencils, whatever you prefer. I liked the idea of it adding a little bit extra depth to it by adding the layers of paper. So you'll notice that I wasn't too worried about cutting the edge of my notebook that I was going to layer. So that made it much faster because I just cut real quick, and that way I'll just go ahead and glue this cherry cobbler one right on top of it. And then I'm going to glue it down onto my card. I'm going to go ahead and glue the ruler across there. And then I wanted to show you another little fun trick. If you don't have embellishments that are the right color, you can use alcohol markers like our blends and color embellishments. So I am using our new Halloween collection. It is called Adhesive Backed Bats, Ghosts, and Dots. So the dots, the white dots, are perfect for coloring. So I like to take the brush tip. You could use the bullet tip if you prefer, but I just feel like I can go faster, and I just go ahead and color it while it's still on the carrier sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and do 3 because it's always good to have an odd number when you're doing your projects. It's just very pleasing to the eye. You can always go back over it to get a little more darker, intense color. It's kind of like layering color on there. Let it dry just a little bit, and then you've got your Night of Navy colored embellishments. All right, so I went ahead and glued those down like I said I was going to, and then I also glued it onto that piece of the Night of Navy so that it's all matted. I'm going to wait and do my embellishments till the end, so that way it's easier to go ahead and adhere this down. So since we're creating a pocket, I am going to be using our foam adhesive strips. These are great for doing shaker cards, but they're also great for creating pockets like this. So what we're going to do is, you don't need to have every little bit closed off like you do with a shaker. You just need enough so that it's going to stay stable and not kind of smush down in certain areas. So I'm just grabbing a strip here, and you're only going to do it on 3 edges, the 2 sides and the bottom. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stick this down and then snip it off. And like I said, you don't need to worry about lining everything up and having it be touching so that there's no gaps or anything, because with shaker stuff, you don't want it to fall through. But you don't have to worry about this because it's just going to have tags that are going to go in here. So for the most part, I am, going ahead and closing it, sealing it all up, but I do have these gaps that you normally would not do if you're doing a shaker. So I tried to get fairly close to the edge. If you were worried, you could go even closer. I'm not too worried because mine are pretty loose in my pocket. Depending on how big your tags are going to be, you might need to adjust the size of this cardstock, or just how close you're going to the edge so that your pocket will work for those tags. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center it from left to right, and I'm going to have it fairly close to the bottom so that there's room for the tag top here, up here at the top of my card. And the nice thing about using this gingham is that you can kind of use that as a guide for a straight edge. So now I've got my pocket here, and I just need to go ahead and create my tags. Before I do that, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and add these colored dots that we did. And so I'm going to go ahead and add one up into this open area here, and then I'm going to add 2 down here, so it's kind of in a triangle formation. Just like that. So now we've got our embellishments on there. So for your tags, you don't have to use traditional tags to do this. Look at your dies that you have in your collection. I chose I believe this was from last year. It's the Fright Night dies. And I used this large tag here because the photos from our school are 2x3. And I think this measures, I think it's maybe 2 1/4. I'm trying to remember what it was. 2.5 by 4, maybe 4.5. So this works for me for what I need, so that I've got a space in here that I can go ahead and put my photos. If your photos, I know sometimes the wallet size from schools can be 1/2 inch more, so it could be 2.5 by 3.5. So you can adjust your tag depending on what you need for your photos. So I went ahead and I used our two-tone Golden Glow, so that way I could use the light side. So it's just giving kind of a different look. Instead of being as dark as this front is, I'm using the lighter side. So I did the lighter side, and then I wanted to use, bring in some of that cherry cobbler. I could not find my 1/2-inch circle punch. So what I did, here's another way to improvise, is I found a textured, I don't even know if you can see that, hopefully you can. It is a textured flower center that was 1/2 inch. So I went ahead and used that instead. You can use all of your supplies in whatever way you need to, so you just need to look at it through a different lens. So I went ahead and I glued it on there, and then I took a 1/8 inch hole punch and just punched a hole so that then I can go ahead and I used 2 strands of our linen thread. They are 12 inches long, and I tied them together so that way I could go ahead and insert them into my pocket. And I just stamped and put this little white piece here just so you can envision a photo. I would not normally have that there unless you want to have like a white border for your photos, which you absolutely could. This is just to represent that photo that you would go ahead and add on there. So then you can go ahead and tuck it into the card, and then you can go ahead and write on the back, and you can go ahead and send it to the recipient. So just a really fun, different way to go ahead and use your tags. I think this would also be great at Christmas time if you send photo cards. You could go ahead and have a variety of tags here for the different family members, or maybe major things that you did. Instead of writing maybe a Christmas letter, you could have it be like photos of major milestones that happened in your year so people could see it. It would just be kind of something different, something fun. So I hope you've enjoyed this idea. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future ones. And of course, go ahead and visit our public Facebook group, the Crafty Copycat Creations. So you can go ahead and add your take on this project idea, and you can see the other ones that we've offered in the past months. And until next time, stay crafty.